I'm with the Asian A.V Club, and basically, we love to do profiles of creative people. And so you're like the perfect creative person to talk about. But if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of go back a little bit. If you can talk about like what made you interested in animation, and then realizing that even drawing could become a career for you. Like that must have been a really exciting moment when you're like, wait, I can do this and make money. This is awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, so when I was a kid, I mean, obviously I loved animation. I loved drawing and I was pretty good at it. I was like that kid who could draw in class. Um, but I never thought about doing it for a living. It just did not occur to me because I grew up in Minnesota and in Hong Kong, and nobody in my life was in the movie industry. Nobody I knew worked in animation. So it was just the furthest thing from my mind. It was always just a sort of a childhood hobby. And then when I was a junior in high school, my parents sent me to this summer school program in the States. I was in high school in Hong Kong, and I had just started dating my high school girlfriend. And I wanted to spend my summer with her, but my parents made me go on the summer school program to get ready for college and learn how to live on my own. And so I was so upset. And they had signed me up for a statistical economics class and an astronomy class. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to spend my summer by myself, in a strange city that I've never been to, I'm just going to have fun. So I dropped the classes and I took a figure drawing class instead. And much to my surprise, this was the first formal art class I'd ever taken. I mean, most of my life I just copied movies and copied comics. But this was like a figure drawing class that was, 20, 30 minute, nude figure poses, and you use charcoal. And so the work that I did looked like real art that you'd see in a museum. And I was quite good. I mean, I was like the best draftsman in the class. And the professor, after the class was over, took me aside and he said, "Hey, you're really talented. You should think about doing this for a living." And I was like, "What could I do?" My concept of artists was that they went crazy, they died poor, and like nobody recognized them until they were dead. And so I was like, "That does not sound like a good life to me." And he was like, "No, no, no. There's like so many professions for artists." And he listed off a bunch. He said you could do architecture, you could do illustration, you could do film and animation. And when he said the words animation, I just thought like a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, "What? All those like movies and cartoons that I grew up watching, like people do that for a living? Like that's crazy. Like that's what I want to do." And so from then on, I applied to film school for college and I got in and I just sort of never looked back. But yeah, that was how I came to.
That is awesome. I loved because I've been to Pixar before, and it's like this interesting campus of a place. And the first time I went in there, I was like, whoa, this is a land of where everybody is like interested and they're able to. And so what was that like for you when you worked at Pixar? And then how did working at a space like that like set the foundation for you as an artist, a storyteller, and then eventually a director? Because it's a breeding ground for so many talented people too. And it must have been really fascinating to like kind of go in there and like I know it's like Hogwarts for animators,
Really,
basically.
no, I mean that's a great way to describe it. I mean, I think, I felt like I had found my people. I had found my tribe when I got there. I mean, obviously, there's the people there. The level of talent is just unparalleled. I mean, all the best artists in the world, want to work there. And so I learned so much about filmmaking, about the craft of cinema and the craft of animation. And yeah, I mean, everything I've learned, I think, as a filmmaker really came from there in my time at film school. And so I owe so much to that place. And I still have so many friends there and I love dearly and I respect so much and I love their work. So yeah, it was a fantastic training ground. I mean, it was kind of like I got a PhD and a postdoc in animation by working there.
What was it like for you when you decided to like leave the safety net of a place like that and to go independent? Because again, the life of an animator is very difficult, and I'm just curious, like, what was it, what made you say like, okay, now's the time,
Yeah.
and I can do it, which is another like kind of bold move on your end.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a combination of things. I think like I was very inspired by what Netflix was doing. Like I saw House of Cards in 2013 and it just kind of blew me away. And I just thought like, wow, this company is really doing some really innovative stuff. And I think they're going to change the industry in a big way. And so over the next couple of years, they just doubled down on originals. Their streaming service just kept growing. And I thought it's only a matter of time before they get into animation. So that's why I decided to tapped two of my friends on the shoulder. And I said, "Hey, I think there's a real opportunity with a lot of this change that's happening in the industry. We should, if we want to sort of ride that wave, we got to leave and start our own thing." And so, to my surprise, they were both crazy enough to jump ship with me, which is why we call the company Kuku Studios because crazy studios just sounds stupid. So, so yeah, I mean, it was really exciting, nerve-wracking, scary. I mean, all the different emotions. But we're really, I'm so glad we did it. I think I'm really proud of our team. And there's a saying that people overestimate what they can accomplish in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. And I think that's very much true for us. Like I thought when we came out, year one, we were going to have projects greenlit, and we got nothing. We all we were doing was like putting together ideas and pitches. But then, fast forward 9, 10 years later, and now we have our first movie coming out. And it didn't occur to me that that would be possible for us, especially at this scale, because we're a small independent company, but we're able to partner with a big studio like Netflix and get the resources of a big budget studio. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. We have the ethos of an independent filmmaking studio and filmmakers, but with the resources of a big studio project.
I mean, the fact that this film is the one that is kicking off this, the Cuckoo Productions, is really fascinating because, it's rooted in in a reality that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to. And I'm sure like during development, there must have been some like, do you have to have the centerpiece a story about potential separation of parents? It's like, and that must have been interesting too, to kind of go through the production process and then finally having a studio saying, yeah, let's do this. This is great. And then being able to like move forward with that. Oh my gosh, must have been such a lovely experience to kind of be like, okay, we're
Yeah,
going.
you're exactly right. I mean, we pitched the project. I mean, part of the reason we got no business for the first year was because this was one of the first projects we pitched, and a lot of the big studios, the legacy studios, were like, "We love the dream world. We love Breakfast Town. Let's get rid of the family story." And we're like, "What? No, that's not the whole point of this story. The only reason it makes sense is and it has meaning is because of that character story." And to Netflix's credit, and again, it's why I think we left because we were so excited about the innovation and the boldness of the storytelling that Netflix was doing. The Netflix executives that we pitched to, they saw the vision that we had. They liked how bold it was. They liked how challenging the subject matter was, and they just got behind it. And so that was a big reason we went with Netflix rather than like one of the legacy studios because we had the same vision and they fully embraced the film and the story that we wanted to tell.
I read that you were directing this film while you were in Hong Kong during COVID, and I was there at the same time too. And we were stuck in Hong Kong for a long time, and it was fascinating to kind of like be based out there and like trying to do work in the States. And so um what? I just tell me what it's like to direct a film, from Hong Kong virtually.
It is gnarly, I will say. I went back in October of 2020, like 6 months into the pandemic, because I live in Northern California in San Francisco, and I don't know if you remember, there were wildfires up north.
Yeah.
So there was one morning I woke up and the sky was blood red. And I just thought, oh my gosh, the world's in a worldwide pandemic. Um, the sky is blood red. I think the world's going to end. So I got to go home and see my family. So I flew back, and then I got stuck there because they closed the borders. And so I was there in Hong Kong for 18 months, working I was working in California hours, so I would sleep during the day. I would wake up at around 11 p.m., work from midnight to 10 a.m. every day, then do my preparation for the next day's work, and then sleep, from like 3 o'clock to like 10 o'clock. And it was very, very difficult. Like my I have like these bags under my eyes now and like a lot less hair. But yeah, that's what it was like during directing it from Hong Kong.
The good news about Asia, thank God for Korea. I'm just going to say that right. But like to then, have this thing. I mean, when you were, I love this film because um, I loved how you incorporated so many aspects of 2D whenever we went into the dream world, and that was like that literally like referenced all of my childhood watching Hong Kong, going home after school and like watching these cartoons and stuff. And so there was a lot of that reference, and I was really psyched that you were bringing that into the animation too. Can you talk a little bit about designing the look of this because it is the real life world felt really realistic. The hair looked real, whatever that thing is. And then the second we went into Dreamland, it was like, yay, like but so can you talk a little bit about like kind of creating the two and then also like getting it right? Because obviously when you have total freedom, that's scary because it could be too much. And so like also learning how to rein it in for
Yeah.
for 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 all the kind of stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think with animation, what I love about the medium is that it's so versatile. You can do so many different things, like performance-wise, tonally. I mean, performance-wise, you can do really subtle, nuanced acting that can rival the best live action performances. And then you can get really push caricatured, cartoony stuff that's like Adventure Time or like the Warner Brothers cartoons, the Looney Tunes adventures. And so, um, I love both of those ends of the spectrum, and I wanted to put that in this film if possible. And the fact that it takes place in both the real world and the dream world was a perfect canvas for me to showcase all of what animation could do. And the furthest departure is when we go anime, full anime with the with the characters. And that's an homage to all the anime stuff that I watched growing up in Hong Kong, like Dragon Ball and Sailor
Yeah.
Moon,
God, yeah.
Studio Ghibli and all that, and Miyazaki's films. So yeah, I thought the dream movie, the conceit of a dream movie, gave me the opportunity to capture both ends of the spectrum of what animation could do. And you're right, balancing that out and making it feel whole and integrated was really challenging. But luckily, I had Steve Pilcher as my production designer, and he's a legend, and he has such great taste, and he was able to find a way to integrate all these things. So.
I have this belief that like movies like this happen because it took a long time. They happen for a reason. Like almost like if you were given the opportunity the first year, do you think you would have been able to make this film the way that it does now? I'm just curious because I feel like even with Nose, it kind of generates some kind of thing where you kind of learn how to do something better. And I'm just curious if that like, do you feel a little bit like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it took a long time, and at the time I wish it would have happened earlier. But now looking back, I mean, our studio, we made a show prior to this movie, which was called our first production was called Go Go Corey Carson, and we learned so much making that show, and we really sort of developed and honed our storytelling and our production chops. And so it is one of those things. I mean, it's sort of thematically connected to the film, which is you know, things that seem like when things don't go your way, it's sort of a metaphorical nightmare in your life. Oftentimes there's a reason for it, and it can really prepare you for the future. And so, us not getting the project of In Your Dreams going that first year or two, having to wait till 3 or 4 years later after we had produced Go Go Corey Carson, was such a blessing because we were so much more prepared to handle the responsibility and the scope of production for this film after we had made our first show. So
I know that some of these worlds were kind of influenced by your own dreams and stuff. And I'm just curious, like when somebody's able to process their dreams and put it on a screen, do those nightmares go away or do they become worse? I was really thinking about that. I'm like, is Alex's dreams better now? Is it just all blue skies and birds like all day long?
no, unfortunately, there I still have the naked dream,
Darn.
teeth falling out of dream. So yeah, my hope at using art therapy to like purge myself of
Didn't
these.
work. This is a project 9 years in the making. You're finally letting out to the world. Thank you so much for like letting people see this, and it must be so nice to get a reaction from people also. Like this thing that's been sitting with you for so long, and now it's out there.
Yeah, I joke, it's like human babies take 9 months to make, animated movies animated movie babies take 9 years. So it is very much like I'm birthing a child into the world. And so yeah, it feels great. And I hope audiences like it and I hope it, touches them that they are entertained and that they love it as much as we love making it. So
Definitely. Thank you so much. Really nice talking to you. I'm going to reach out on the socials because we're Hong Kongers, so
yeah,
we should have lots to talk
sure.
about for sure. Thanks
All right,
again.
all right, see ya.
Bye.